Hey, welcome back. I'm still Jerry, and this is still the Happy Place Diaries. Great to have you. Hey, this time we are talking about 10 tips for the new RVer or the seasoned RVer that's always on a quest for learning. These are 10 things that you need to consider with your RV, and we're going to save the absolute best for last, so stick around. Hey, welcome back to the Happy Place Diaries. If you are a returning Happy Place Diaries subscriber, great. Thanks for coming back. If you are new to the channel, it's great to have you. Let's dive right in. And these are all just tips for primarily a new RVer. But I guess this would apply if you're just, man, it's cold out here. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, this would apply if you're getting a new rig. So let's dive in. Number one, get to know your rig inside and out. Push every button, open every cabinet, know how the slide outs retract, know how they come back in, know how your gas systems work, your water systems work. Get to know your rig. You know, we have the luxury here of having our travel trailer parked right next door to the house. And so we could always come out here and tinker and whatnot. But when you're buying a new one, you need to really get to know it. And that way you're going to know when something doesn't sound right, or when something doesn't feel right, or when something doesn't look right. So get to know. Take that RV out on a shakedown trip. We took ours out to a place that's about 40 minutes from home, and our RV dealer is in between. But better yet, about 4 minutes from the RV park was a Walmart. And you never know it was there, but it was there, about 4 minutes drive. And it was great because when we came up short on our hose, we could just run into Walmart, get a little bit more, get a bigger hose or whatever. It's a really safe place to work out some of those bugs. All right. Learn your rig and develop your own routines. Develop your own routines. Unless somebody else has a really great routine and, you can adapt that. But I mean, really, you got to make your own routines of how you do things so that you're comfortable with it and you're not going to forget stuff. Number 3, put together a toolkit. Not a mechanic's toolkit. I have just a little, like a little tackle box type of thing. I'm not a mechanic, but I have learned that I can fix pretty much everything in this trailer. A couple tools that you need. You need a screwdriver that has different kinds of heads, because you're going to notice that in your trailer or your RV, whatever rig you have, they use all kinds of different screws in here. They use the square ones and Phillips heads and flat heads, and so get a screwdriver with multiple heads, a good pair of pliers, some socket wrenches, and you don't need to take a whole socket set. Just learn what sizes you need for your trailer. I have a socket wrench and I have 3 sockets. I have one socket that does nothing but open up the drain plug on my hot water heater. I have sockets that tighten up the bolts for stabilizers and whatnot. And then I have another socket that works on the tongue and some of the attachment points at the tongue. And that's it. I don't need to carry, a Craftsman 180 piece socket set. All right, some Teflon tape is critical for both gas lines and water lines. So get a roll of Teflon tape. Some glue. I use glue that's called something 6000. I don't know. I'll put a picture up somewhere here. Great glue. And I tell you a pro tip. Every time one of these screws gets loose in your trailer, and they will, put a dab of glue on your screw and then screw it back in that hole. You're never going to have that problem again. Every single one of the screws in this trailer over the last 4 years have been taken out, glued, and put back in. And guess what? For the last year, I haven't had to tighten up a screw. Ding! And then extra gaskets. I have a little teeny container of extra gaskets because you're going to lose them out of your hoses. You know, put a couple extra gaskets in there, a couple different sizes, and you can refine that. But a good toolkit, along with duct tape, cable ties, or zip ties is an absolute must. You will use them, I promise you. All right, tip number 4. All right, tip number 4 is to play around with all of your storage spaces. Hey, space is limited in an RV, so you need to figure out, you know, a really good way that you can maximize the use of your storage space. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a later tip, but you only have so much storage space. You really can't add to it. So make the most of the storage space that you have and become very efficient with your storage space. All right, tip number 5, establish a setup and takedown routine. I'm reading notes. And stick to it so that you don't miss anything. And I'll tell you, every time we've missed something, it's because we got out of our routine. So if you got to write it down, laminate it, put it on your phone, do whatever, but establish a good setup and takedown routine, and you'll never have to worry about it as long as you stick to it. All right, tip number 6, don't spend a whole lot on trinkets and gadgets. Hey, look, folks, there are so many videos out there that talk about you got to have this and you got to have that. And I wish I would have listened to them. You got friends in the RV community that are going to tell you, no, you got to go get this and you got to go get that. No, you don't. Get what you need and take that shakedown and see what you don't need. Hey, look, I bought stuff that we've never, well, we've used it at least once, but then we never use it again. Don't invest in a whole lot of trinkets and gadgets unless you just absolutely have to have them. But remember, for every trinket and gadget you have, you got to put it somewhere. Go back to that storage tip. All right, tip number 7. Get a method of organizing your rig. Small space can clutter quickly. Hey, look, every one of our storage compartments, everything is in bins, boxes, totes, or something, because things clutter quickly in a trailer. We have a pretty good sized trailer, and things still get pretty cluttered in here if we're not careful. Be very aware of how you do that. You know, we reorganized our pantry. We added the pull-out drawers in our pantry because it reduced the clutter. It forced us to use the space right. All of these cabinets behind me, bins and whatnot, you know, all of these cabinets, we have the bins that store games and snacks and tools and pet stuff and that kind of stuff. So get really good at organizing. We did the same thing in the bedroom. We added a 3-drawer cupboard system that we picked up at Target for nothing, and it slid right into the existing closet. It really helped us reduce the clutter and use our space efficiently. All right, number 8, do a walk around every time you hook up the trailer or you stop the trailer. This is super important. When we hook up the trailer at home before we take it out, I do a walk around. I start at the driver door and I walk the driver's side of the trailer, which is this side that I'm pointing at. I check everything. I check the windows. I check all the plugs. Everything's secure. Everything's closed. Everything's locked. Work my way around back. I'll check the awning for my slide out topper. Make sure that the screws don't look loose and everything is where it's supposed to be. Again, go back to knowing your rig. Then I work around to the back side and then I'll work my way down the passenger side. You know, check the steps, check the doors, check the windows, check the awning, make sure that it's in all the way. Then it puts me all the way back. I check the gas tanks and all of that. Make sure that all my pins are in for the hookup. And then I check the front of the truck, make sure all the lights are on, etc. And then that works me right back to the driver door. And I'm golden. All right, so, you know, do that walk around. And I do that to a lesser degree, but I do that every time we stop. If we stop at a rest stop, I walk around the trailer. I check the tires, you know, I check all that stuff. And if you've watched our videos, you know that that routine has definitely helped us out. All right, tip number 9. Get extra hoses and leveling blocks and dog bones. You absolute must. We have 6 foot of extra hose that goes on top of our 50-foot hose, and we've had to use it. We have a 5-foot section of sewer hose, and we've had to use it as an extension. And we have dog bone or power adapters that we've had to use, and we've had to use all of them. We've been at parks that only had 50 amp service. I need 30 amp. So my step down from 50 to 30 dog bone has paid for itself. And we've actually been in a place that only had 110 power or 20 amp service. And so I've had to step down from my 30 amp to that and use that. So make sure that you have power adapters, water hose extensions. It doesn't have to be a lot. Like I said, we have a 6-foot hose, and that usually gets you by. And I've also used that 6-foot hose at parks where I just had to fill up the fresh tank. So rather than pulling out my 50-foot hose, that 6-foot hose was enough just to fill up the fresh tank. All right, so extra hose, extra power, and extra sewer adapter hose. I'm telling you, if you don't listen to anything, and all of this, take with a grain of salt. Use your own judgment. But if you don't listen to anything else, those 3 things that you got to have. Some of the other stuff, yeah. Oh, and I also talked about leveling blocks. You can always use leveling blocks. Get into a park that's sandy, you're going to need a little bit extra. I use them for my stabilizers. I use them for leveling. And a tip on leveling blocks, and I'm going to do a whole video on this, I think, or maybe at least a half a video. Anderson levelers. Our #1 video that we put out of all time has been about Anderson levelers. We bought Anderson levelers and we used them on about 6 trips. And for the last 3 years, we have not used them again. Our last and final tip, and the one that we think is the most important. Everything's hooked up. Everything is ready to go. You've checked the tire pressure. The awnings are secure. The doors are locked. Lights are working. You're ready to roll out. You sit down, you put that seatbelt on, and you turn the key or push the button if you've got one of those fancy trucks. Go into relax mode. As soon as you buckle up, go into relax mode. The reason we bought RVs is to enjoy it. Absolutely just settle down, take a deep breath. The campsite will be there when you get there. You don't need to race, but just relax. Your vacation, your weekend out, if you're a full-timer, your trip that day, it all starts with buckling up and relaxing. That's why we embody the RV lifestyle, because we want to relax and enjoy life. So it starts with tip number 10, relax and get into that mode. And if you got to put a note on your dashboard that says, relax, that's a great tip. All right. Hey, listen, that's it. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't, but let me know why. Hit that subscribe button. All right, check us out. Thanks for coming along. We really appreciate y'all.